Okay, I'm back. So we talked a little bit ago, hour or so ago, and I told you that I was going to be making some videos. And they're going to be, you're looking at this because you're looking at a PowerPoint, right? Well, so anyway, this is the first of many, many videos that you're going to be looking at, and I'm going to be talking about some of the physiological mechanisms that are important to human anatomy and physiology. So if we look at our syllabus, it says we'll be covering major themes of anatomy and physiology. So we're going to talk about three different principles from chapter 1. There's a whole lot of stuff in chapter 1 that, it's really cool historical stuff, but you don't have to know it. But these three items, and then from page 36, I'm pretty sure it's 36 and 37 in your book, we'll talk about some other stuff, the anatomical systems. And so for today, we're going to talk about 3 different principles and 12 anatomical systems. And that's what this first PowerPoint is all about. So let's begin. Look at my whiteboard. It's got writing on it. So you can see I can only put a little bit on it at a time. So we're going to talk about 2 of the 3 physiological mechanisms that are discussed in chapter 1. And so I'm going to scoot out of the way so you can see the board, okay? But I'm going to keep talking. So what we have is negative feedback here, and it relates to this idea here, which is called homeostasis. So negative feedback, a definition of it, but you don't just memorize definitions, by the way. You need to understand them, because I've had students ask me, they say, I'll give a definition and they'll say, oh, can you repeat that, please? And the answer is no, I can't. I have no idea what I said. I know the idea, and that's what I want you to learn. So we have negative feedback, and negative feedback, this is like air conditioning. It happens in humans too. It is a control mechanism. What happens in your house? If it gets hot, the air conditioner comes on. And then if the air conditioner keeps going and it gets too cold, it cuts off. And if you have like a really terrible system, what would happen is you'd say, oh no, it's so cold, I need to turn the heat on. Well, that's what happens in your body. You cool and you heat. So negative feedback is control mechanisms which bring a parameter back towards a set point. That's an important part of this definition. A set point, and this occurs when it deviates either up or down. So over here, hopefully you can see it, I have a graph. And so this is a graph. It has degrees Fahrenheit on this side and time over here. And we're talking about physiology, so I have a set point of 98.6. Why do we have 98.6? Body temperature, of course. So when we talk about body temperature, if you were to take your temperature when you are out exercising, mowing the lawn, even laying in the sun, you say, oh no, I got a fever. No, you don't. Your body has just warmed up above the set point. It's okay. What happens? You start sweating. So as temperature deviates from the set point and it's rising, what happens is your body starts sweating. What else does it do? So let me talk about that for a second. Why sweat? There's something called evaporative cooling. And with evaporative cooling, the water evaporates from the surface of your skin and it takes away some of the heat. What else happens? I was a little white-headed boy when I was a kid. And when I'd been outside in summer and I came inside, my face would be red as a beet. Why? Because the capillaries in the surface of my skin would have dilated. Why is that? To radiate away heat. So we have mechanisms, control mechanisms, which will bring the temperature back down towards the set point. But say you've been outside sweating, you're covered in sweat, and you walk into a freezer. Not a good idea. But if you did that, what would your body do? So your body temperature drops below the set point. You walked into that freezer with wet clothes, wet hair, wet skin, beet red face. You might start shivering. Shivering is another control mechanism. What happens? What is shivering? Shivering is where you have your muscles start contracting. And the reason they contract is because it generates heat. It helps to warm your body. So you use negative control mechanisms to regulate body temperature. This is an example of negative feedback. And we had said, what happens? Your body is not always 98.6. It sometimes is above, sometimes is below, but it's always revolving around a set point. Mechanisms which bring a parameter back towards a set point when it deviates either up or down. What do we call this? When we talk about having negative feedback mechanisms in physiology, and there are other examples, pH, it's a little bit harder for you to relate to at this point in the course. There are other things, other physiological parameters that are controlled in the same manner. So when we talk about collectively all of these physiological parameters which are being controlled through negative feedback, this is what we call homeostasis. Homeostasis. Homeo means the same, and stasis means to stand. And so that's the derivation, the Latin derivation of the name. But what it means is it's maintaining physiological parameters around a set point by using negative feedback mechanisms. Okay, I'll come back with another video with some other ideas next.